All right, what's going on, everyone? I just saw Disclosure Day. It's like 3 a.m. Went to a really late screening. Obviously directed by Steven Spielberg, written by David Koepp. I had to look into his history because I didn't know the name off the top of my head, but he's directed a ton of stuff. Like Mission Impossible is one of them. A ton of Spielberg things as well. So, and it makes sense because a lot of the stuff he's written goes hand in hand with what Spielberg likes to do, like these kind of bigger ideas, more fleshed out, kind of not like action movies, but more like think pieces, which is what this movie is more of. It's not like, like with Arrival, I feel like a lot of people expected that movie to be, well, at least some people expected it to be like alien invasion, bombs, and stuff blowing up the whole time. But when it was more of like, again, like a think piece, more of a slow burn, uh, psychological thriller kind of thing, it was getting a lot of hate. But I think this movie is more of that as well. Like, if you don't like Arrival, you're probably not going to like this movie, especially if you're expecting a ton of action, which there are some action scenes, but it's mostly, again, slow burn. It stars Josh O'Connor, who plays Daniel, and he works for this government agency that's been hiding proof of UFOs and aliens and stuff like that. And then one day, with the help of another former colleague, he steals a bunch of stuff, and now he's on the run from his company to disclose it on Disclosure Day. That's what the most of the movie is just him trying to get away from this corporation who are trying to essentially kill him to get all this information back, not letting it out to the public. Emily Blunt plays Margaret. She does the news, she does the weather, and like you saw in the trailer, she starts doing that weird clicking thing, and you find out that you know she's somehow going to be involved with this as well. That like maybe the aliens are in contact with her, or she's got some kind of weird ability. Coleman Domingo plays Hugo, and he's kind of like the lead of like the disclosure in a sense. He's always like on this set, and they're like building something in the background, and he's always communicating with Josh O'Connor and eventually Emily Blunt, trying to get them together to see through this plan that they have about releasing all this information. And yeah, that's the majority of the movie, and it is 2 hours 20 minutes. But honestly, it didn't really feel like that. There was one point where I had to go to the bathroom. I missed maybe like 30 seconds, but again, I was like, I didn't want to miss any of this stuff. And yeah, honestly, by the end of the movie, I wasn't disappointed. I was kind of just like, I don't know how I feel. But walking home afterwards, which I enjoy doing that now because it gives me time to think, listen to some film scores, and get the ideas flowing. But overall, I really liked it. I liked the way they tackled the actual Disclosure Day stuff. I won't get into it, but the footage and stuff that they come up with is cool. The alien design is cool. Pretty sure they showed some in the trailer. And just overall, it was tense at scenes. There were some scenes where I was just like, dude, like, oh my god. Scenes where some violent scenes, not really, just more of like kind of self harm in a way. But once you actually see like why it's happening, it makes more sense. There's like this device thing that they have, that this government agency has, that's tracking them down, and it like gives you like the ability to like go in people's minds and stuff and control them. And there's just a lot of crazy stuff that happens. And there's Eve Hewson. She plays Jane, and she's Josh O'Connor's partner essentially, and she gets roped into all this stuff because she didn't know exactly what he did for work, other than like he does like tech stuff for this company, and she gets involved with it, and so she's on the journey with him throughout this whole thing. And I think at first I was kind of annoyed. I was like, why is she even here? She's like, they just need another character. But you know, once it gets rolling and she starts coming with these ideas and all these things to like evade the people chasing them or all these other things, I was like, okay, you're a pretty good addition to the team, and I understand why you're in this movie. And you're not just a shoe in for just we need more characters kind of thing. Wyatt Russell's in it. He plays Emily Blunt's. I don't know if they were married or if they're just dating, but he's her partner, and he's in it for like 10 minutes maybe. He does fine. He's there with her Emily Blunt when all this weird stuff starts happening, and of course it's hard to process when she's like speaking different languages on the fly, and she's on the news clicking her tongue and shit, and she's getting an MRI and stuff like that. But overall, I really enjoyed the story. I think again, it's not gonna, you know, it's not really anything revolutionary, I would say, because like again, like I think Arrival and this movie share similar plot points, at least in terms of the aliens. So if you've seen Arrival, you kind of know what I'm talking about. But yeah, again, don't expect to go in and see things blowing up and all this stuff and whatnot. It's more of like kind of like ET. It's more of like a drama. There's some fantastical things that happen, but overall, it's about the relationship between Josh O'Connor, Emily Blunt, Coleman Domingo, and how they're trying to disclose all this information. And Colin Firth is in this movie as well. Got to get him in there. He plays Noah. He's like the leader of this tech company, or not tech company, just like this government agency that's tracking him down. And the whole time I was just like thinking in my head, this is just like what Harry Hart would be doing in Kingsman if he was like the bad guy. Because of course he's got the accent, and I was like, I could just see that in like an alternate Kingsman universe where Harry is the bad guy. He would just be doing shit like this. And also the score is good. John Williams is doing the score. I was listening to some of it on the way home, but they only had like one track released. I think the whole thing comes out on Friday, and it's Wednesday night, so there was only one track I was listening to. But I think overall the score is great. I mean, John Williams, he's the GOAT, so it's like, what do you expect? And yeah, overall, I'd probably give this movie like a 8 out of 10, maybe 8.5 out of 10. I feel like it might need a rewatch or two, process some more information, but I think off the rip, I really enjoyed it. I'm curious to see what the audience reaction is. I think it'll be pretty positive. Again, I'm sure there'll be that crowd that, they expect bombs and explosions and stuff like that and don't really care to like think about the bigger meanings and the other things that Spielberg is trying to get through here. But yeah, overall, great movie. Let me know down below. Have you seen Disclosure Day? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Hit the like button, subscribe. Peace.